What it is, you guys, it is your girl Cadillac. Yes, I'm Cadillac Dixon. I'm the Draw My Life prison wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice. Hoping, because you got to hold your breath for justice. To see justice before all face to bleak. Yes, it's your girl Cadillac. Anyways, guys, I'm coming through today, September the 30th, 2025. Yes, the last day of September, so September is already over. But I came through after work. I'm so exhausted, literally. I couldn't even drive home. I had to take a nap in the parking garage, like before I could even pull off. I was so extremely sleepy, girl. And that coffee from yesterday, National Coffee Day, girl, that stuff wasn't even trying to wake me up. I was tired. So sometimes I got to park this Cadillac and just catch me some Z's, right? But anyways, I want to tell another testimony. Thank you for checking out my last testimony where I was telling you guys how I missed a drive BY by this much twice. Almost got caught right in the middle. Like strategically at the time that I was in that spot is when things were popping off, and I got right out the way, like right before this stuff happened. If you want to check that one out, it will be linked in the description box below whenever I have time to put it there, girl. But if not, just scroll a little bit. It's right there. It's like right before this one, girl. So I want to do the story time today about fearing. It's kind of two different things. It's being alone, but one part of it is the fear of being alone as far as being single, like for the rest of your life, or not having that person in your life. But that's not today's story time, but it's connected to it in a way. And the fear of living alone. So this one is going to focus more on that fear and God helping me over that fear of being alone. I'm sorry, of living alone. Being alone will be in a different testimony. But, okay. So I'm going to try to tell this quickly, but y'all know I am long-winded, so it doesn't always work out that way. I was 1/5 of 5 sisters. My mother and my father. I grew up with my mother and father, and I have one older sister, and I have 3 younger sisters. So coming up, it was always multiple people around. We had a pretty big, nice size house, big backyard. It was always somebody in the house. It was always noisy. It was always chaotic. It was almost always fighting, hollering, screaming. A lot of this is where a lot of that emotional trauma comes from, because of all of that, all the chaos that was going on in the household. But all in all, I always been around a big family, right? So fast forward, I told you the testimony of how God gave me and my daughter our first apartment. This is after well, if you don't know me, I always wanted my own family. I come from a crazy childhood, and I wanted to, all I wanted to do is be loved and have a family, and thought that I was getting that second chance through, your next family when you become the mother and of the family and the wife of the family and have your kids. That because I went through craziness, childhood family, I thought this family would be like for real, and it was a fairy tale until y'all already know my husband was wrongfully incarcerated. And at that moment, it was just your fairy tale is flipped and turned exactly to the opposite, which is a nightmare. So I kept trying to, and that happened when I was 20, 21, by the time we were completely ripped apart, because from 20, when he was wrongfully arrested, there was still hope that he would not lose trial. But now I know we never should have had that hope in trial, because trials are not fair, allegedly. They are more like stage plays. So I should have known that he would be convicted wrongfully. But you learn the system after going through the system. But the system collects, so you don't learn that lesson without a big price tag with it, right? So at that time, we kind of thought we still had that chance at a family. But by 21 and our daughter being 9 months, I realized that no, that family is dismantled. It's kind of not going to be functional, happy, whole family like I thought it was going to be. So I still knew that me and my daughter had to lay roots, and I had to become more stable, because now I am a single mother overnight by force, not choice. I'm going to hit that. I'm going to hit that, girl. To all my single mothers out there by force, not choice. Hey, know that you can make it, but the choice is yours if you never give. Never throw in the towel. Just keep your head up. You make it out somehow. Things get rough and you're feeling all alone. No, it's not fair to make that baby on your own. But whoever told you that life would be fair? And whoever said your baby daddy would stay there? Her 35% high locked in jail. Her 35% don't even give a damn. That only leaves 30% true pop. So them 30%, I must give them props. See, some mamas got to work 2 jobs, they never home. Some mamas got to slip, they gotta slide down the pole. But they do what they gotta do to take care of they seed. Cause nothing in this life is a guarantee. Yeah, things get rough, but they ain't impossible. For answers that you need, you better search deep inside of you. You gonna have to find some way to make it through. Cause them kids got no one there, they depending on you. To all my single mothers out there by force, not choice. Hey, know that you can make it, but the choice is yours if you never give. Never throw in the towel. Just keep your head up. You make it out somehow. All my single mothers out there by force, not choice. Hey, know that you can make it, but the choice is yours if you never give. Never throw in the towel. Keep your head up. You make it out somehow. Yeah, here's your girl Cadillac. But being a single mother overnight by force, not choice, I knew I still had to become something, and I had to get my roots down deep, and I had to build something for me to be able to sustain the family while my husband's gone, for my daughter's sake and my sake as well. So I knew that I was going to have to, girl, I went into overdrive, like for real. So fast forward a little bit, that whole time I spent from 21 to 29 working overnight, living with my mother and father. My daughter and I was in my room at my parents' house, trying to get up on my feet, but things are not set up really for you to get on your feet. They're not even set up for you to ever get on your feet. But if you make any mistakes or you fall into any traps or anything throws you off course in life, the way it's set up is for you never to gain your footing. I truly do think allegedly it's rigged up for us to fail from the beginning. But If we want to blame each other, then let's go ahead and blame each other. It's our fault. Instead of blaming the real faults of why we can't hardly get by. But came 2010, and I told y'all that testimony about how my daughter and I got our first apartment. I'll link that in the description box. I will try my best to link it in the description box, girl, because it's not the next, story time up. So we got our first apartment, and to tell you, it was really good, but then someone broke into our apartment. It shattered my safety net. I felt like a sitting duck. I have that story time too as well. Story time / testimony. I can link that in the description box. So after that situation happened, it left trauma to where I did not feel comfortable being alone. I did not know. See, ignorance is bliss. I didn't know that people watched single women and their children. People clocked when you go to work and when you're coming home. People are watching you. And many times they are plotting against you, allegedly, to attack you, to rob you, to do whatever, right? And when that happened, it wasn't the worst situation that could happen. God kept us through that. I see where it could have been so much worse, that situation. It definitely could have been way worse. But no matter the severity of it, it shattered what I thought was a safety net, was a safe apartment. I realized how unsafe, allegedly, it could be to live in apartments and to live alone as a single woman and their young child in an apartment. So anytime I was in the apartment, I always just thought about, oh my gosh, somebody's breaking in. Every noise was me thinking someone's trying to jimmy my door. Every noise is that, oh, someone's watching from outside. And it sends you into a paranoia until you're like, you feel safer being outside and walking around the neighborhood because you can see the exterior and you can see what's happening than to be inside the apartment and not knowing what people are plotting outside your door to do to you and your child. They possibly, had they not taken my husband would have been, that's his role. That's his role. He would have been doing his role. I honestly think a man would have been more equipped, to do that type of thing. But women, and they say women are so hard, but it's like we were forced into roles of having to be sometimes tougher than men, like for real. But I, in my life, do believe that was the role of my husband. I was not supposed to play that role, but because my family was dismantled, I had to play the role that I wasn't. I had to play my role as the mother, as the wife, and I had to play his role as the husband, and I could not be the father. So I did more mothering than I should have had to, had it been balanced with mother and father. I am a person that grew up with both mother and father, and it tremendously affected my life having both mother and father. And I know people say it doesn't, but with one parent missing, it changes the course of that child's life. Some children are resilient and get over it, but some children, it triggers something in them and it creates a hole in their life, and they carry this hole throughout their lifetimes. It's a hole created that only the Holy Spirit can fill. So when my husband was snatched out my life, that created a hole in me. I didn't lose my father in that manner, but I lost my husband in that manner. And it created a hole. But the only person that could fill that hole, I'm telling you, is the Holy Spirit. Only one. Only one. When I look back over my life and it's like them footprints in the sands and I don't know how I got over this, it's because he carried me. He got me through this. So 2020 came. I told y'all that, where my daughter and I ended up with another beautiful apartment, thinking it was in the best neighborhood, the expensive neighborhood. We moving on up like the Jeffersons, girl. And that story time, I'll link in the description box. That great, nice neighborhood, I thought, is where the last testimony where I was almost caught in a drive BY twice. Like, what type of neighborhood is this? Like, for real. So we ended up, that as well added to, I already had the fear of being in an apartment, but now I got the fear of being in the neighborhood altogether. So how am I going to do this? Because now my daughter moved off. That's why I was always trying to get my husband's story broken of being wrongfully incarcerated and get him home before I ended up alone, before it was nobody around, because I knew my daughter could not stay around forever. And I would not try to hold her down and hold her back to just stay with me forever. So now you see how these stories are starting to connect. Each puzzle piece is starting to connect to the next one. So my daughter moved off and I was on my own. Very difficult. That's why I would go back and forth. Like I have my home here, and then also, and not to mention, I don't know, like, what would happen if someone's not filling my role that I play as caregiver in my sister's life. So that also gave me that excuse to always, be checking over there as well at my parents' home. So it kind of made it where I was split in locations. That too, I know that God will solve that issue as well, because that has been a challenge that I truly don't know how. I know that the way that I am coping with it I won't be able to cope with it in that manner forever. But that too, I'm going to have to give to the Lord. And I have no clue, but he's going to work it out some type of way. But my daughter had granddaughter, grandson, and she ended up moving out and getting her own apartment. Now, I did not try to hold her back. I told her she knew the trauma I had went through. She knew, and she was going to be kind of, unfortunately, following that same single mother. It's like my mother broke that generational curse of being a single mother. And somehow I ended right back up. Like the generational curse just skipped me. And then it started and picked right back up. Right? Why am I a single mother? That was supposed to break and not be me. And now our daughter is in the single mother. So it picked it back up. And I have a granddaughter. I don't want that to keep being our generations. Man. Because we really need our families together. We really need our families together. Yes, it's partially their fault because they dismantled our families. And yes, it's partially our fault because we're falling and playing right into their playbook. But no matter who fault, at some point, we got to figure this out and get it together for our next generations. So my daughter had her own apartment, and she told me where she was applying. the same neighborhood where they bust into my apartment in 2011, 10 or 11, somewhere in between 2010 to 11, because that's what the lease was. The same neighborhood. I'm like, are you sure you want to live over there? You know what happened? And she's like, yes, Ma, I want my own apartment. I want my own apartment. I have my kids. I have to, and just because I didn't launch correctly, I'm not going to try to hold my daughter back. I always knew, and I wanted my daughter to have way better than I had. Though my career was cut off by every stop, I wanted her to have the top-notch career. Though I was not able to finish school until 20 years had lapsed and I was the 20-year-old student graduating at 39, I did not want that for her. As a single mother, I had no money for her to go to college. But we figured that was God that got her through college. That as well was God. Because as that was approaching, I'm like, I failed her. She can't even go to college if she wanted to. But God turned that right on around. Scholarships, Pell Grants, all of that. And she did not have to owe nobody her arm and leg after finishing school. So as well, it was hard with me to live alone, but I don't want that life for her. So I tell her what happened, but I'm telling her also, go after what your heart, what do you feel you need to do? Because I learned a lot in my life. Many subjects I listened to my parents, and I really do think I had the better idea for my own self than they did. But even upon listening to them and it failing through because I knew who I was and I knew that was not the fit for me, they don't care now because I'm old as jail. They don't care if, I listened. I don't get no kudos for obeying what they said by the T. I would have done better following what was in my heart. And I believe that's what God had for me, right? I'm an artist. I'm a creative. Before I had all of these disabilities, had I just followed them before, where could I be, right? But I was watching something yesterday. No matter how you get off course, God is going to reroute you back to where you should have been as long as you're following Him. So I have to have faith that my life one day will get back on track. So anyway, she applies. She gets the apartment. She's moving in. The first couple of nights, she's like, Mom, can you stay with me? Because I'm kind of creeped out. It's only me and my daughter. And it's crazy seeing when you're a mother, you go through something with your child, and then your child grows up, and then you see your child going through that same thing. It's weird seeing it play out as being your child and not being yourself, like seeing it in another generation, the same thing happening. Like I said in that other testimony where I shaved my hair because I was the only BLK girl and the kids were making fun of me. And then in the next generation, my nephew shaved his hair because the little kids were making fun of him that did not look like him. So we kind of go through the same things. That's why I don't understand why the younger generation won't listen. They just won't listen because we've been through what they're going through. Yes, there's nuances. Yes, things change. Yes, things are a little bit harder than it was. But still, the lesson is still the same. Even if you read the Bible, many times they went through the same things that another generation went through. Like, did we not learn the lesson the first time? Do you really have to go around and wander for 40 years? Or can you listen and obey and avoid 40 freaking years in the wilderness? But many times we learn through experience. We don't learn auditory. auditory, however they say it. We don't learn by listening. We learn by actually hands-on experience. We got to go right on through this mess. So she gets the apartment. I stay with her a couple days. I'm like, okay, well, I gotta go. And at this time, I didn't have an apartment because I had to get out of that place because they was doing drive BYs. I could not stay over there. So I didn't have an apartment at all. So at that time, I was living with my father. My mother had passed at that time. So my daughter, at first, was like, she didn't want me to go. But little by little, she started working from home. She started getting her food, cooking in the house, cooking with her and our granddaughter, and there being a family. She decorated it up. Like I told you, she loved them color schemes. So her last apartment was red. This one pink. Girl, she bougie on a budget. I told y'all. I tried to tell y'all last time. I don't know why, but she bougie, and I don't know how, because I literally did not grow up like that. But I don't know where she gets that from, girl. She had it all decked out, all pink furry this, pink that, pink, all over the apartment, and she loved it. And she would always, Ma, you coming over? Ma, you coming over? And it's kind of us, because it was kind of dismantled in 2020, because that's when she never came back home, right? And it felt like in this new apartment that was hers now, that we were back to what we were in 2020, except now we got grandkids, right? And I sat back one day, and I used to go walking around that neighborhood, and I would walk my granddaughter up to the park and play, and I would be record my videos, and I just would spend a lot of time there. And it occurred to me one day, Keita, do you realize this the same place that traumatized you? The same place that made you feel like you could not live alone. Do you realize you're dwelling here now? And nothing happened. Nobody busted in no doors. And matter of fact, all the neighbors were really loving. And every day it was a guy saying, "Hi, honey, I'm home." Like you could hear him through the door every day. And my daughter's like, "How is honey home every day?" Like I said, I don't know. Maybe she's, disabled and she stays home, or maybe she's a stay-at-home mom, but she's home every single day. You would hear him say, "Hi, honey, I'm home." And at that moment, God revealed to me that you're okay. And that is when I got over that fear of living alone. All right, guys, I will talk to you later. It's your girl Cadillac. Do you see that full circle? God bringing me full circle. All right, y'all.